I sold my iPhone to switch to a Google Pixel, and my experience may shock you. As some of you know, I've been an iPhone user for years. Some even call me an Apple fanboy. Of course, I have tried some Android phones in the past, namely the Galaxy S10 Plus, the OnePlus 3T, and a few others, and I even tried a Google Pixel 3 XL for a couple of weeks. But I was curious to try Google's new flagship devices, and also I got bullied into it by people on Twitter, thanks. So I decided to give one a try. The Pixel 6 Pro is a great looking phone with a sleek, modern, and unique design. It definitely stands out, but it does give me Galaxy S10 Plus vibes, especially when using it with the case that I've got for it. But design aside, the 6.7-inch display on this phone is amazing. I love it. The fingerprint sensor on this phone hasn't been bad for me either. Like, yes, it's a little bit slower from other fingerprint sensors that I've tried in the past, and it's definitely been a lot more accurate and faster to unlock than my Galaxy S10 Plus was, and the build quality on the Pixel 6 Pro is top notch. Or should I say, top cutout. That wasn't funny. However, I did find this phone to be quite slippery, and initially I dropped this quite a few times, hence getting a case for it. And I'm not really that clumsy of a person. I don't drop my phone a lot, but because I've had an interesting experience with a Google phone before when it came to durability, I wasn't going to take my chances this time. Now, the Pixel lineup has always been known for one thing. It's cameras, and the cameras on the Pixel 6 Pro have just been amazing, even to 2023 standards. It's an incredible camera system. You have a great main lens, great ultra wide, and great telephoto, and a great selfie camera, and all of those four cameras paired with Google's computational photography just make this phone a whole other league of its own. The digital zoom on this phone is insane as well. Like, I thought my iPhone 14 Pro's digital zoom was okay, but this, it's not even close. But the cameras weren't all butterflies and rainbows as some may think. You can tell from some of the shorts that I've made in the past couple months where I used the Pixel, you get this weird like blur effect on parts of the video sometimes, and I don't know the correct term, but it was not up to my standards. Now, another disappointment on this phone was the battery life. Now, I have heard that the battery life on the Pixel, especially the Pixel 6 lineup, was kind of trash, and it kind of is. I found myself having to charge it more often than I used to charge my iPhone 14 Pro, but for my lifestyle, battery life isn't really that big of a deal, simply because I'm always charging my phone either in the car or at my desk or when I go to sleep. But on the days where I didn't have access to a charger, it was kind of a stretch. Performance and software, on the other hand, blew me away. The Pixel 6 Pro is lightning fast, and its software kind of felt more fluid and smooth and bugless than my iPhone 14 Pro. And I almost never experienced any lag or stutterness whatsoever, which I was honestly shocked about. Although I'm not too big of a fan of the Pixel's Material You home screen, the fact that you can't remove the clock widget or the Google widget are just weird to me. Like, this is Android, it's supposed to be customizable, but thankfully you can install a whole other launcher on this phone and get the exact look you want. But there were other aspects of the Pixel that I was kind of disappointed with in terms of customization, like the lock screen and always on display, like you can't change the time or anything, which is something that I've been so accustomed to on the iPhone 14 Pro. But on the Pixel, it's just boring, plain, and you can't even customize the two buttons on the lock screen, which, I mean, for an Android phone, it's kind of weird. Now, yes, of course, there are ways around it. Like, I can root the device or do some weird hacking methods or whatever. But other phones I've tried in the past, like the Galaxy S10 Plus, I was able to edit the lock screen and change the clock style, change almost every aspect of it I wanted to. And on the Pixel, it's just customization is not there as much. A few other minor issues I've had with the Pixel are issues with using a wireless microphone. Like, for pretty much all of my videos, I use a Rode Wireless Go, which plugs straight into my iPhone, no problem with an adapter. But if I plug it into the Pixel, it doesn't actually work. Google Assistant also struggled to hear me sometimes. Like, I'd be in the car and I'd have to shout multiple times to get it to listen to me. And then I told it to call a certain person and it would call someone completely different, which was a bit awkward sometimes. And even getting it to save music to my library, I tried with both Spotify and Apple Music, and it just wouldn't do it. It's like, it's weird. Like, simple functions that I thought Google Assistant was good at, it actually wasn't. And I don't know if it's a problem just with the Pixel, I don't know, but I used this thing for 2 months and Google Assistant was not up to my standards. I should mention though that call screening, which is one of Google's AI features, which I think it's a great concept, a great idea, but it's implemented very poorly. Now, I know they probably have to do this for legal reasons, but when I use screen calling, it has to disclose to the person on the other end of the line that it's a call screening service from Google, it's not a real person. and then it starts a conversation with them, which 9 times out of 10 led to the other person hanging up because they're like, oh, it's just gone to voicemail. Let's just hang up. Now, I remember when this thing was first introduced with Google Duplex, it was a lot more advanced, I guess, in a way. Like, the person on the other end would probably never have guessed that it was a robotic entity that was speaking to them instead of a real human. But my biggest problem with this switch going from an iPhone to a Pixel is the fact that the Pixel 6 Pro was kind of a crater in my workflow and in my ecosystem. Many of you know it as the ecosystem trap, the walled garden, etc., etc. Once you buy an Apple product, you'll buy another and another and another and another, and eventually you've got so many that if you switch one of them, it kind of ruins your life. But my iPhone just enhances my workflow in a completely different way that the Pixel can't. Of course, if I tried a Pixel 7 Pro, my experience may have been slightly different, but at least for a while, I'll be sticking to my iPhone for now. Unless Google decides to send me some goodies, like, you know, it would be nice to try out a Pixel 7 Pro and Pixel Watch. But and I will say, but if you're currently an iPhone user and you've never tried an Android phone, or you haven't tried an Android phone in the past 2 or 3 years, I would say this is the closest experience I have ever had on Android to an iPhone with iOS than I ever had before. But if you enjoyed this video, then YouTube thinks you'll actually enjoy this one too. So you better click it, go watch it, because I'm sure it's a really good video. I mean, I made it, of course. So, yeah. But Pixels? Google? You actually shocked me with this one. Good job.